So I know there are so many, and I've heard so many over the course of my years here and at the benefits where we've had alumni speakers, and there's no way to summarize all of them, all of the incredibly gifted and inspiring young people in your career. But give us one that really resonates. And we know that there will be dozens of them, but give us one story to give an example of what some Seeds scholars have accomplished.
That's the impossible task. Lee. You realize that, and you fall in love with so many of the stories. I mean, I can talk to you about Chisa, who's a playwright in New York City, whose plays are off Broadway, and she's a screenwriter for Sony. I can talk to you about Amelia Brodka, who has found a passion in skateboarding and was in the Olympics as a skateboarder this year. I mean, I can talk to you about our folks who've made it on Wall Street and folks who have made it in teaching and education, or Greg Cornegay, who came back and teaches our kids every weekend in addition to teaching during the week because he feels passionate about it. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to nail down to one. I can share, though, I was thinking about this because I had a feeling you might ask me about one. We have 4 alums who are on our board of trustees currently. Mm-hmm. One of them is a gentleman by the name of Calvin Millian. And Calvin is just, if you've met Calvin, he should be running everything. He just has a passion and an energy, an intelligence, a charisma. He's a wonderful young man. And I met Calvin back when he was in Seeds, and he was all of those things, just looking for opportunities. He was all of them. Calvin went from Seeds to Seton Hall Prep. He went from Seton Hall Prep to Georgetown. And now Calvin works at a division of Gary Vaynerchuk's companies. Calvin's very engaged and involved. The reason that Calvin came to mind when I was thinking about this is we were sitting in my office just across the way here when Calvin finished his freshman year at Georgetown. And he would come back and sit and talk and check in and let me know what was going on. He's, as I said, a great kid. And he said, I'm not sure I can go back. And I said, you're killing it at Georgetown. Like, academically, you're great. You have a radio show. You're involved in all these. Like, he was the guy at Georgetown. And he said, I came home and he said, people haven't been working at home. They haven't been able to find work. It's been a year. He said, I don't know that I can live that life at Georgetown knowing that this is what's going on home. And it was a profound moment for me because I forget that. I think about the kids and I don't think about the world they're leaving and coming back to and going back, and how challenging that is. And we talked for a long time that day. And I said, Calvin, your mom and dad don't want you to solve their problems. Mm-hmm. They want you to help move the family to a better place, to move yourself to a better place in life. And we spoke a few more times after that. And he finally found his way back to Georgetown in the fall, finished up, and has been nothing but a success and a powerhouse since. And it's not his success that always comes back to me, but it's that moment as a reminder to me, at least, a moment of humility for me in kind of forgetting how wonderful these stories are, but just there's a minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day life that goes behind them. And that just because the student has gotten into the school or is on the right trajectory doesn't mean everything's good now.
I'd like you to tell briefly, if you can, the story of Soleo Cuervo coming back, because not only what he did, but how he found us again. I think is just a remarkable story.
Yeah, so Soleo is a pretty interesting story. Soleo graduated Seeds in one of our first classes, went to St. Andrew's School in Delaware. St. Andrews, if you haven't been there, is a beautiful campus, and they were our summer site for a few years. And so that means our scholar students live there for 3 weeks before they go into 8th grade, and they come back and live there for 3 weeks after 8th grade before they go off to their placement school. So St. Andrews was our home. It's a beautiful campus. Soleo went to St. Andrews. After St. Andrews, he made his way to Duke. At Duke, he studied music production and art, which are naturally the 2 areas that bring you the greatest success in the world, as we both know, highest odds. While there, Soleo navigated his network, made a lot of friends, and met a young man who had a startup and asked him if he would come on board with this startup. And there's various numbers thrown around, but he was one of the first 20 people at this startup, which eventually became known as Facebook. And Soleo's claim to fame, if you look him up online, is he is the designer of the like button at Facebook. And so it was he and one of his partners, the 2 of them put together conceptually the artwork and the design for it and a bit of the usage rules around it. And an amazing career from there. From Facebook, he moved his way over to Dropbox. He was the head of design at Dropbox for a number of years. and now he's out on his own with his own think tank where they're kind of launching new products and things. So it's an incredible story of access. And all the talent, all the brains, all the skill set were there in Soleo, but it was just a matter of getting into the right places and navigating his way through there that gave him the access that's led him to this tremendous success.
And I think one of the interesting aspects of the story is he found his way back to us.
He did. He identified, he when he got out of school, he was already at Facebook and had already had his success at Facebook, and then reached out to us and said, when I was thinking about my life, as one does in their late 20s, when I was reflecting back on my life, I recognized that Seeds was the critical game changer for me. It was the thing that changed the entire trajectory. And so he picked up the phone, reached out to us and said, hey, I don't know if you know my story, but I'd love to get involved in Seeds again. And within a couple of weeks, he was on a plane. He flew out to visit our kids at the Hill School in Pennsylvania, spent a day with them. Within 6 months of that, he was on our board of trustees. And has been a critical and valuable member of the board at so many levels since he's arrived. Is there one moment that stands out? Is there one thing you've been to that you kind of hang your hat on and go, you know what, I felt great about that?
I'm going to talk about one thing, but it is a composite. And what has the most impact to me is hearing the parents talk about how important this was for their kids. The kids are obviously incredibly talented. But when you hear the parents speak about what this meant for them, to see their kid being provided an opportunity to excel and succeed in a way that they might not have ever had the chance. It's possible that they might have, but these are opportunities that they probably wouldn't have had. To see in the interview prep sessions that I've had the opportunity to do, where, as it's not just the student, but the parents that's being interviewed. And you see them in many cases where the student is translating for their parents, and you see their drive, their passion for their kids to succeed. That's probably been the most powerful, impactful thing for me certainly as a trustee, but I can identify immediately with as a parent.